SEC fans, welcome to week number 5 of Best of the West. I'm your host, Kevin Bohannon, as always, joined by my man, Jake Thomas. Jake, how are we doing tonight?
Man, exciting week of football is coming up, and I just want to point out that in our little pick'ems that we do in our group here, we dominated. So, congrats, Kevin. You went 7-3, and I went 8-2. So, I'm pretty proud of that. So,
Man,
congrats.
if I would have been smart and thought that Alabama wouldn't put up a bajillion points
Hey,
like I thought they would,
listen to me.
yeah, so fell down right there. Everybody missed Auburn,
Yeah,
and Mizzou let me down. Yeah, so
yeah.
but yeah, of course there were some upsets last week. Of course, Arkansas they did their job. That really wasn't an upset if you talk to a lot of people around the country, and you kind of got to see like A&M how those guys responded to getting hit in the mouth. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. So yeah, I'm 26-20 on the year. Jake, you're 27-20. I think I'm a game back right there. So
Mm-hmm.
fun little pick 'em that we have going on right there. So we want to start out this week. I talked to Josh Pate of 24/7 and CBS Sports on the Hog Talk podcast last week. Had a great interview with him for our segment, just kind of reviewing college football where we're at right now and talking a little bit about the A&M game since he was in Arlington for it. So, is okay. Let me preface this. I'm 40 years old, and 2007 was the craziest year of college football on record that a lot of people remember. So that was the year that Appalachian State beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That was the year that a top 10 team got beat 29 times. That is the year that the number 2 team in the nation lost 7 times in the final 9 weeks. In those 7 weeks, the number 2 team was South Florida, Boston College, and Kansas. Think how far we've come in 14 years that we were talking about
Yeah,
Kansas and the Fighting Manginos
yeah.
being number 2. So that was the year that LSU, even though they got beat in Week 13 by a Houston nut-led Arkansas squad, even though he knew he was on his way out, they rushed for 385 yards. Uh, they ended up winning the national title. Boat raced OSU in the national title game after a Ted Ginn kickoff return. I think the final was 41-14. So we wanted to review that year and thinking that could this be similar to 2007? You have 2 teams that are clearly at the top right now, Alabama and Georgia, but they play top 13 teams this week. Okay, Georgia obviously has Arkansas coming to their place, and then Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, part 2, 3, 4. What number is this?
Two.
2. 2 since he's been to Ole Miss. Okay,
Yeah.
so this could be like 2007 in the fact that we don't know what's going on. This could, and the great thing is with all the upsets and the games that are close, just like West Virginia playing Oklahoma to a 16-13 game last week. Auburn almost got beat by Georgia State. Now everybody's all up in arms on the plane that Bo Nix is going to have his job taken by an LSU transfer. Guess what, folks? That's why he went to Auburn, to take over that job, not be the number 2 guy. So we could see a lot more TJ Finley this week. But Jake, could this year mirror? I don't think we'll ever have a year like that. But could we be set up for a year like 2007 and where we have so many upsets that at the end of the year we're right back in the same spot we started?
Uh, Potentially. I mean, it's there because offensively, a lot of teams don't have it this year. I mean, Clemson does not have an offense like they had in the past. I mean, they went 4 quarters and 2 overtimes and only scored 21 points. So they're struggling. Um,
Yeah.
Oklahoma don't have the offense. Ohio State doesn't have the offense like we're normally used to seeing from them guys. So offensively, the best teams right now are, coming out of the SEC. And that doesn't surprise me because the best athletes play in the SEC.
Right.
You could say that not Oklahoma, but Oregon, they look pretty good right now. But I mean, Stanford's going to be a tough team and tough matchup for them this week. I wouldn't surprise to see an upset there, or at least a closer game than what people think.
Yeah.
So It has the potential, but you know, I just don't see anything ever topping that wild 2007 season.
Yeah, it was a crazy year, and if you go and you do a little bit of research, they have the number of upsets listed by week, and week 5 was the one where everything went crazy. You had 8 upsets, and upsets being 25 teams losing to an unranked or lower ranked team. Half of the top 10 lost that week. The most notable loss that week, number 3 Oklahoma, getting beat by a field goal by the University of Colorado. And we've seen what Colorado and Texas A&M did. That game that was just a heart stopper, 10-7 game. And we kind of saw that last week, and we'll roll right into our week 4 highlights, starting with Arkansas and Texas A&M. Arkansas jumped out to a 17-0 lead, 300 yards in the first half. Just looked like they were going to cruise. And having been what Arkansas fans have been through the last 2 years, nothing's never easy, but we felt like we were in control of the game. Isaiah Spiller came out this week notably and said they didn't stop us, we stopped ourselves. That's true. You stopped yourself on 2 third-down holding calls because Trey Williams was beating your left tackle like he stole something. Trey Williams was named the defensive lineman of the week by the SEC. Very deserving award. He had 2 sacks, induced 2 penalties, holding penalties, like I just mentioned. And Monteric Brown with a key interception there in the third quarter. Arkansas wins 20-10. KJ Jefferson and his favorite target, Treylon Burks, hooked up. Burks was co-offensive player of the week, and I'm not really big on co-players of the week. I think Emory Jones in the performance he had, going 350 yards, multiple touchdowns, 200 and 140, passing and rushing. He should have been player of the week. I think Burks had a great game, 6 catches, 167 yards and a touchdown. But we're finally seeing what Burks is able to do against press coverage. It worked out in our favor. I can't believe it. When I looked on the screen, I was like, oh, that's man to man. You cannot press a 6'3", 230-pound wide receiver that runs a 4.4, 4.5. He's physical like AJ Brown, and he's going to be that type of player in the league. He had a tremendous catch over the middle, one-handed, and then the catch down at the 3-yard line that was ruled incomplete could have gone either way. So, Jake, you said you were big on Arkansas this year. You had them. What'd you have them going? 7-5.
Potentially the top end at 9 wins, the low end 7. So I'm still high on them.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, it's the guys around Coach Pittman have bought in, and I mean they love him. I saw that little story they did. I think it was,
that was good.
Yeah, during the game about and it might have been on game day too. They talked about it, but
yeah, it was on game day.
Yeah, and they all the different things that he would turn the damn jukebox on or something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool, but
the word "damn" is now accepted in vernacular around Arkansas.
Right. So, but going to that game, on Isaiah Spiller's point, to me, and I talked to you over on Twitter. I tagged you in it, but I said that if Arkansas wanted to win that game, they was going to stop Spiller and make Calzada throw to beat y'all. And I said if A&M wanted to win, that's going to have to feed Isaiah Spiller. But I mean, it's kind of hard to when you're down and it's getting late in the game. But this A&M team is struggling on offense because I do not see Calzada. He overthrew guys. He underthrew guys. I mean, he's just not. I don't know. They was talking about a QB controversy at the beginning of the year. I can see why Haynes King won now.
Yeah, I didn't see how there was a competition though. I mean, I know King came out in that first game and threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
But just the dynamic offensive ability he has running the football. Calzada didn't impress me one bit. Yeah, he made some good throws, but his consistency was terrible. I think he was 20 of 36 or something like that. So it wasn't great.
And
under 200 yards. Yeah.
yeah, and I'll tell you on the defensive side for you guys, Arkansas's defense. I remember they tried to run or pass out of the backfield a couple times. My gosh, the safeties and the linebackers were on the was Spiller and whoever else like a little wide receiver screen. I mean, right on them as soon as they passed.
Yeah.
The speed on that defense, it's amazing to see. I mean, they're very disciplined, and that's something that my wife Cassie said I hadn't seen Arkansas this good in a while, but I haven't seen them be this disciplined in a while.
Yeah, discipline, especially defensively. And we
Mm-hmm.
talked about it on the Hog Talk the other night that, look, we ran the three down linemen last year and the drop eight, and we got torched a little bit. It worked against Ole Miss, but that we got exposed later in the year. Well, now we're able to be really multiple because you can roll 6, 8 defensive linemen in there. And when you got three transfers in Markel Utsey, John Ridgeway, and then Trey Williams,
Yeah.
that's three down linemen. You can run a true 3-3-5. You can run a 3-3 stack with Greg Brooks coming off the edge as a nickel rusher. It gives you a lot of mobility and versatility within that defense. So, big game coming up this week. We'll get to that in a minute. Looking at the rest of the SEC West, LSU held off the Fighting Pirates from Mississippi State. They won 28-25. Max Johnson throws four touchdowns. Will Rogers, of course, 1,600 completions last week for 371 yards. Still doesn't matter. You lost. LSU's 3-1 now. What are your thoughts on the Tigers?
They've had an easy schedule. I mean, it's supposed to get tough here on out. Now, I do think they win this Saturday because against Auburn, because Auburn has not beaten LSU in their house since 1999. So I think they got the advantage. But when they start playing Arkansas and Alabama, Ole Miss, they're going to get routed.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Missouri let us down in OT. Boston College had a big lead, let Missouri come back, then beat them in overtime. It's kind of like a little gut punch right there. Georgia, no problem with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had 16 passing yards. I think Georgia had more points than Vandy had yards. It was bad.
It's awful.
Auburn, oh man, 24-15 at half, 24-12 at halftime, 15 I can't remember, but TJ Finley got in with a minute left, 98-yard touchdown drive to go ahead, and then they got an extra touchdown late. It wasn't a 10-point game; it was a 3-point game.
Yeah.
And then they got one late. Man, they got some problems down there. They got to figure it out real quick. All the infighting now, and it's typical Auburn stuff. They can't figure out which way is up. Florida looked really good. Of course, they ran for 300 yards once again, beat Tennessee 38-14. The other game of the week, which was a pillow fight, Kentucky, which moves to 2-0 in the SEC, takes care of South Carolina 16-10. Luke Doty returned for the Gamecocks. 158 yards passing. Will Levis came back down to earth with 102 yards passing. They were good on the ground. C.J. Rodriguez had 144 yards in the win. And then Alabama didn't have to worry about it this week. Of course, I love the halftime interview with Nick Saban. Y'all are up 42-7, and he's like, we just got to play better. Third down, man. That one play stuck out to him where it was 3rd and 13 and ended up getting a first down and just total domination by the Tide, 63-14 win. Let's talk about that win, Jake.
Yeah, let's talk about it. It was a huge win because Alabama need to get like we said their mentality back. We need to get back to the Alabama factor, and the way we played the first couple of weeks wasn't the Alabama way, and we needed this game to get us focused on the ultimate goal again, and the ultimate goal is, of course, to win a national championship. And I mean, Saban said throughout the week that they practiced really hard, really focused. I know it's Southern Miss, but there's a lot of takeaways, good takeaways to take for this week. And we're going to be in a meat grinder this week. But I'm confident that we're going to come out on top. We'll talk about more of that here in a few. But it was a great win. So it's it's onward from here and go. Let's just get it done, boys. So that's how I feel about it.
No doubt. Bryce Young has looked really good. 15 touchdowns on the year, only one interception, and can't really blame that on him. It bounced off the receiver's hands.
Hmm.
So he's looking good. Really impressed. Billingsley is kind of making his way out of the doghouse. He had a 100-yard game last week, led the tight end receiving yards. So before we move on to looking ahead at week 5, I want to let you know I want to thank Willis Digital Media, as always, for hooking us up. Great graphics, as always. Our boy, Stephen Willis. And then every Believe podcast, we're sponsored by betonline.ag. We're going to let you know our picks, but if you want the industry insider picks, go get some good information over there at betonline.ag. All right, Separation Saturday. I can't take credit for that. I saw it somewhere by someone a lot smarter than me that gets paid a lot more to do this than what I do. So, but it is, they in
You get
golf,
paid for it?
yeah, right. You're getting
What
paid.
the? What
Uh,
the?
so in golf, you have at the U.S. Open, you have moving day because that's kind of when the field separates themselves. So you're going to have a lot of separation this week. The conference really gets going this week. You got 6 conference matchups highlighted by game day going to Athens between the Hedges for Arkansas and Georgia. And you and I were talking before this, and you said save some of the the, the,
The trash talking.
the trash talking for after Arkansas beats Georgia. And honestly, I don't think we beat them. This Arkansas team is playing really good right now. KJ Jefferson is playing a lot better than what a lot of people thought he would. The 24/7 writer, I gave him a little bit of credit last night because he came back out with his SEC rankings of quarterbacks that had KJ Jefferson number 14. He's all the way up to number 5 now, behind Matt Corral, um, Bryce Young, and then a couple other guys. So KJ has done really good. He banged up his knee last week. It was just a stone. It was just a knee bruise. He kind of got thrown into the trash can over there, but he's going to
Yeah.
be okay. Yeah, I think that should have been a 15-yard penalty if you want
Yeah.
to talk about
No
protecting
kidding.
quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks went out into the game with a little lower leg injury. I think he's going to be back, be okay. So for everybody out there, Arkansas should be at full strength this week. But here's the deal: Arkansas, they haven't lived and died by the big play, but they've scored and moved the ball a lot of times on big plays, chunk plays, and with the spread offense and everything, that's what that's predicated on. The RPO game, the chunk plays. Georgia is not going to give up too many of those chunk plays, guys. And that's where I think Arkansas is at a disadvantage because they're going to have to put together 10, 12 play drives multiple times a game. We came out last year, got up 7-0 really quick on Georgia with a wheel route down the sideline with Traylon Burks from Felipe Franks, and then struggled the rest of the game. Georgia's defense clamped down. They're getting a couple of 5-star studs back. But this is a different team, and just like Kirby Smart said in his weekly press conference today, this is not the same the Arkansas we played last year. They realized that game day would not have gone over there into this game with if they thought it was going to be a blowout. The line started out at 18.5. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but for all the people out there, and especially Arkansas fans that see this, they're like, there's no respect. That's disrespect. That's not the point of it. The line is put out to get equal betting odds on both sides, equal money. So you want 50% Arkansas, 50% Georgia. That's what Vegas wants, okay? So that line is most likely going to move down. I could see it settling somewhere around 14.5. I think this is a 2-score game. In Georgia, I think they're clicking on offense right now. JT Daniels, Zamir White. I just don't see it happening. I could see it being 31-17, 31-14. No one has come out this year yet and proven to me otherwise. I know Georgia just hasn't played world beaters yet on that have been offensively sound. Vanderbilt last week. Clemson has shown that they can't move the ball up and down the field, even on NC State. So I think Georgia ends up winning this game.
All right, Kevin. Let me be the biggest Arkansas homer there is, because I'm going to tell you how you're going to win this game Saturday. And it's pretty much like this. Yeah, Georgia's defense is spectacular. They're probably one of the best defenses in the country. But you just said it right before before you quit talking. They have not proven they can beat a quality opponent yet. They've not played a quality opponent. Clemson is not good on offense. Their best win right now is UAB. Freaking B. So, I mean, that's nothing to be, laugh about. And that's nothing to be proud about.
Yeah.
So, and they only scored 10 points, and they didn't score an offensive touchdown against Clemson.
Yeah.
With JT Daniels. And I know they had a bunch of injuries, but this like, you want to talk about 2007? Here we go. This can start the chain reaction, for Saturday. Potentially, start out with Georgia and Arkansas at 11. 2:30 game moved to Ole Miss and Alabama. Arkansas wins 11. Ole Miss potentially beats Alabama, which ain't going to happen. Sorry, Steve, you're going to be wearing an Alabama shirt. Anyway, I don't know, man. It just feels like a different Arkansas team in the past, and this feels like offensively a different Georgia team in the past, because I don't think they have an elite talent out on the wide receiver core that can.
Yeah, their tight end is leading them in receiving right now.
Right.
And they're 51st in the nation in rush offense. This is what, and I get what you're saying on this, because they're averaging 177 yards on the ground. That's 7th in the SEC, and I know we've been through a lot of lollipops and cupcakes so far this year. But that's not Georgia football. They're slinging the ball all around the place, and I know Kirby has to adapt with what he's doing. So who knows? We'll see. Did you have anything else? Those are some great points.
I'm not going to say that Arkansas is actually going to come out and win, but it's going to be closer than people think. I mean, I would love to see Arkansas with the upset, but Georgia, like I said, Georgia on defense is stout, no doubt. But I just don't see how they're going to move the ball a lot on Arkansas, and I think it's going to be a dogfight. Whoever wins in the trenches in this game, overall, is going to win the game.
Yeah, it's going to be, and no pun intended, dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight in the trenches. I'm going to be interested to see what happens there. Tennessee and Missouri, two teams in the East that are going to be battling. This game will go a long way towards bowl eligibility. Who you got there?
Missouri.
Yeah, no doubt.
Tennessee.
Sorry.
I mean, Hooker's all right. Hooker's look pretty good, but
yeah,
I mean, they just don't have anything.
You got a long way to go.
Yeah.
All right, Troy and South Kakalaka. Shane Beamer came out and says Troy's defense just wreaks havoc. You're 0-1 in the Sun Belt, homie. 2-2 overall. South Carolina's 2-2, and Beamer says the world's not coming to an end. They're 0-2 in the SEC. Let's see. Does Troy pull the upset here?
I think South Carolina wins.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. No, move on. Florida, Kentucky. Kentucky 2-0, trying to supplant Florida and stake their claim to the second best team in the East. Does Kentucky pull out the upset at home, send Florida to 1-2 in the SEC play, while Kentucky moves to 3-0?
Again this season, I was high on Kentucky because Will Levis, to me, gave them a different type of offense that they've had in a while. But here lately, he hasn't done anything through the air. Now, I know Rodriguez is running like crazy. He's averaging, he's getting 200 yards a carry or a game. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, so why do you need to pass it when you have that?
Yeah.
But I will eat crow here. Maybe Florida's a lot better than I give him credit for. Beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I'll give credit to Emory Jones. He has really come on Anthony Richardson was breathing down his neck, breaking off runs and averaging 40 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I still think he leads the SEC in yards per carry like at 23 or 25
Wow.
because he's only rushed it 11 times and he's got like 270 yards. So,
Mm-hmm.
but CJ Rodriguez, like you said, he's averaging 125 yards a game. Wan'Dale Robinson's leading the SEC with over 400 yards. So Kentucky is trying to find some balance right here. I do think Florida pulls it off.
I do
They
too.
will beat them. I don't think Kentucky can stop them. That'll be the deciding factor right there. Mississippi State and Texas A&M, 2 0-1 teams in the West. I think A&M wins this one. I think they'll be able to shut Mississippi State down. You know my thoughts on the air raid. I don't think they can get the job done this week.
Yeah, I'm going A&M here too. I hate it because I like Mike Leach, but he's either going to have to adapt and get rid of the air raid, or he's just going to get fired and have to go back out west where it actually works.
Yeah,
you know?
and then somehow this game got prime time on ESPNU. UConn and Vanderbilt. We're not even going to talk about that because we have Ole Miss and Alabama. 2:30 on CBS, the CBS game of the week. Hopefully it's like last week and the home team comes out and just shines, jumps up 17-0, and then rolls on to victory. Right?
Well, that would be like a fairy tale, but I don't know if it'll happen or not. But
yeah,
we've talked about all season, and I mean, you and Steven have talked about it. If it's all about Ole Miss's defense.
Yeah.
And I mean, Alabama's starting to find their groove a little bit on offense. I mean, Bryce Young, I have said since the Miami game, he's pretty much shut up his doubters. I mean, he's showing out right now, and it seems like the wide receivers are finally catching balls. Well, besides the one the other night where Williams hit in his hands. But anyway, but not secondary, but special teams looks really good. And Jameson Williams had 2 kickoff return for a touchdown. So that's huge. So, there's a lot of momentum for Alabama going into this game, which is great. It's all going to come down on both defenses. Kind of like last year's game. Which defense gets the key stop first is going to make the difference in this game.
Yeah, and just to look at the few of the video game numbers coming into this game, points per game, Ole Miss averaging 52.7, Bama 46.5. Points allowed, Ole Miss 20.7, Bama 17.5. Ole Miss comes in averaging 635 yards of offense a game. It breaks down like this: 336 in the air, 298 on the ground. That is what a high-powered spread offense looks like. Alabama, a little bit pass heavy, 313 through the air, 151 on the ground. Total yards allowed, Alabama's got the edge there, 288 to Ole Miss 340, which they would take 340 every week. I think Ole Miss would, and that's what you alluded to a minute ago. They're only allowing 208 yards through the air, 132 on the ground. Matt Corral, 10.4 yards per attempt. That's really big. That's huge. That's up around there where Mac Jones was averaging 11 last year in his big Heisman campaign run. Alabama's got to have some guys step up in the receiving end. I'm with you right there. Mitchie and Williams, they're 299 and 240 right there. Drummond is leading Ole Miss at 339, and then thing that's really interesting right now, Ole Miss has like 19 guys averaging at least 6 yards a carry. But we'll look at Jerry Neely's averaging 6.1 a carry. Parrish 7 flat. Corral 4.8 from the quarterback position, and then my boy Snoop Connor averaging 5.7 a carry. So I do think this is high scoring like it was last year. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm not ready to give my pick on this one yet because I want to take a day. This is only Tuesday. I think we should get a day to do our research and do a little bit more. We give our picks on the Hog Talk on Wednesdays. So right now I'm leaning Alabama, but just something about Lane Kiffin this year. I even wore my Ole Miss blue tonight for Steven. So figured he would appreciate that.
Kevin, don't do it.
I know. So everybody around the nation is saying, what if Ole Miss beats Alabama and Arkansas beats Georgia, and then in next week, and then you have, and I'm like, oh Lord, in a perfect world, if you want to make everybody's head explode, that's what would happen. So
You talk about 2007. Here we go. But
yeah, here we go. Arkansas and Ole Miss are slated to play 2 weeks from now. CBS did exercise their 6-day option on that. It could be on ESPN at 11 o'clock. It could be on CBS at 2:30. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. That game will be at the Grove here in 2 weeks on October the 16th. So, well, I think that'll do it for us tonight. Jake, it's going to be a big weekend. I know we got 6.5, 7 hours of football between the both of us that we're going to be glued to the TV for. My wife already knows that it's a big weekend. She was like, well, if you're not going to go to Athens, I guess you can stay here and watch it. So I said, thanks.
There you go. Yeah. I'm going to be keeping my eye on the late game too, because Auburn LSU kick off at 7, I believe.
Oh, you're not talking about UConn and Vandy?
Well, I mean, I just want to see the final score on that. I'm thinking like 42.
7-5.
Yeah, 42, 7-5, somewhere in there. That's gonna be painful to watch.
That'll do it for week 5 of Best of the West. For my co-host Jake Thomas, I'm Kevin Bohannon. We will see you next week.